Hello, my name is Rhoda Benjamin, also known as June Barry. I am a poet and author of the book Kingdom Verses. Today, there is widespread celebration as America celebrates its 244 years of independence from British rule. As I reflect on the current situation, there is great cause for concern as we live in troublesome times with the COVID-19 pandemic, systemic racism, and disrespect for life and human dignity. Indeed, there is cause to celebrate great achievements. However, there are some essential values that we should take a stand for and never celebrate their independence. We should never celebrate independence from love and unity, honesty and integrity, dignity and morality, truth and transparency, justice and equality. This poem called Here I Stand is an appeal for all of us to take our stand for these God-given values in these challenging times in which we live. And so, brothers and sisters, here I stand to take my stand. Despite my thought blocks and memory gaps, my imperfect vision and sleep deprivation, but with my freedom of choice and monotonic voice, I will take my stand to bind up the brokenhearted and proclaim deliverance to the captives, to comfort those who mourn, and open the prison to those who are bound by the chains of opioid and alcohol addiction, food and fashion addiction, cell phone and Twitter addiction, pornography and TV addiction, obsessive compulsion, depression and suicidal ideation. Here I stand to take my stand. I will take my stand to be sensitive to the needs of those around, to embrace all peoples, irrespective of race and religion, social and economic situation, education and sexual orientation. I will take my stand to stand against hatred and hostility, bigotry and white supremacy, nepotism and racism, narcissism and egocentrism. I will take my stand against injustice, dehumanization and corruption, against abuse of the elderly and the mentally ill, against domestic violence and gun violence. Here I stand to take my stand. I will take my stand hand in hand with the Almighty, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent God, who challenges me to hold on and move on, to press on and fight on, to live on and dream on, and take my stand in a world that is groaning under the weight of guilt and shame, disease and pain, headache and COVID-19 pandemic, earthquake and heartbreak, famine and flood, the shedding of blood, immorality and infidelity, idolatry and human ideology, materialism and threat to religious freedom, ethnic cleansing and human trafficking, global warming with fire raging, snow piling, and tornado blasting. Here I stand to take my stand. In these challenging times, I will take my stand and not be afraid to call sin by its rightful name. I will take my stand against oppression and nationalism, injustice and corruption. I will take my stand against sexual predators in high places and low places, in the White House and the schoolhouse, in the playhouse and the entertainment house, in the courthouse and the corporate house, in the House of Representatives and the house of God. I will take my stand against misogyny in God's church, against power struggle, hypocrisy, and autocratic ideology, against exploitation and misappropriation in our schools and institutions, against those inflicting human pain, while upholding archaic traditions for selfish gains. Here I stand to take my stand. I will take my stand in this land of liberty, where certain politicians surrender decency, integrity, and dignity on the altar of sacrifice in favor of loyalty to their political party, where obstruction of justice is encountered in high places, where truth is no longer held in high esteem by some in leadership positions, where alternative facts seem to have become the norm, making it difficult to differentiate between right and wrong, where wrongdoing is rationalized and presented as acceptable behavior, where corruption and lies have become an integral part of the governing culture, where greed and accumulation of wealth take priority, while millions suffer in poverty and experience healthcare disparity. Here I stand to take my stand. I will take my stand like Queen Esther and Michelle Obama, Ellen White, Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks and Mother Teresa, Walter White, Richard Loving and Nelson Mandela, Carlton Byrd and Martin Luther King Jr. And though I may face the lion's den, be confined to a prison cell, or cast in a dark dungeon, and even if I go through the valley of the shadow of death, I pray God to help me to stand strong and hold on until that day when, along with those who have fought the good fight, we will stand together irrespective of race or color and resound songs of liberation from every tribe and nation, worshiping the God of our salvation from Genesis to Revelation. Brothers and sisters, in 2020, take your stand and stand.